Welcome to Global Healing's manufacturing facility. We're going to give you guys a tour today, show you how we make the best products in the world. The facility itself is fully organic. We're going to take you on a journey you've never been on before. Let's go. Welcome to the manufacturing. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by how we start the whole systems of manufacturing. So we're going to start up here. This right here is a V blender. This is what we use to blend the materials, because sometimes you have, 10 different herbs in something, or you have 4 or 5 different ingredients in something. And it looks like it's a very simple procedure when you see this thing going up and down. But in reality, let's say you were doing a powdered multivitamin, and you're claiming on the label that it has 500 milligrams of vitamin C and 25 milligrams of this and 50 milligrams of this. In order to get that just perfect, most people don't think about how intense of a process that is to get every single ingredient in a 30 ingredient supplement exactly perfect. It depends on the revolutions per minute and the time. 2 different things you have to look at when you're trying to get it right. So a multivitamin, let's say, in the lab, we might have to do 10 revolutions per minute for 16 minutes to get that exactly perfect to where it goes. If we go 18 minutes, then it can throw off the whole formula.
In a lot of facilities, you're going to see what they call paddle blenders. Paddle blenders are usually high shear, high speed. So they're basically chopping up the ingredients, throwing heat at it. It's a very violent kind of action. In this, you'll see that it's a gentle sweeping motion. Throughout the process, we're trying to put love and vibrational energy into the products. Instead of blending for 15 minutes and chopping it up and being all high speed and trying to push it through as fast as possible, we take the time to do it slowly and gently. And what you're seeing here is every time it inverts, those ingredients go up and then they fall back down. So you have this nice gentle motion. So basically, after everything's been blended, we bring it over here. I'll show you on the right side is our powder hopper. You fill up the hopper. The powder then falls down into a bowl where the tamping pins gently press the powder into the capsule. There's a separation station and the capsule fill station where you dump in the capsules and it automatically splits the capsules into 2 pieces. As it rotates, it'll go in, get the powder, it'll come back around, and then it'll close up.
Most people never get to see this. We like to show everybody how our products are being made. This is an encapsulator. However, we've modified these to go like half as slow as a normal one would go, so it's not generating heat. In most manufacturing facilities, these things run super fast and they generate a lot of heat. But we make sure we never go above 100 degrees because then you can start damaging the ingredients. So it might take us twice as long. Sometimes it takes us 3 times as long to do a batch of product because we're not that type of facility where we want to just rush and get as much as we can out. We focus on quality of the ingredients instead of speed and money like most other people do. Alright, so you see in the back, this is where we have the empty capsules, and then they fall down that raceway where in the back these 2 pieces split. Once those 2 pieces split, then they'll go to this powder side. The powder side, each one of these pins is pushing a little bit of powder into the capsule at a time until we hit the weight that we want. So once they're filled with the powder, they move over to this station where you see the 2 pieces come back together. And this little tamping station, the pins come up and lock the capsule so that it's ready for use. Once you get to the next station, you come down the chute and you go into the powder. What the powder does is filtrate all the dust that lets go of the capsule, and it'll clean that dust off so you have a nice, clean looking capsule. The AF90 can do 90,000 capsules an hour. We've got 3 AF90s and we've got an AF40. The 40 does 40,000 capsules an hour. Now, we only run it at about
The 90 runs about 60,000 capsules an hour. We never run it at full speed.
Oxy powder, but we use these for everything. We use these for all the herbal products. Some of our products have to actually be done on a semi-automatic, like the supercharged C60, because it's so fine, and we can't really have powder lost. You see, that's a loss. There's always going to be some loss. But with the supercharged C60, it's so expensive, we almost have to do it by hand, just so we don't lose anything.
You see a hopper here, so for like every 100 pills that comes out, one capsule will fall over here. Is that for quality control?
Yes. So basically, it's either underweight, typically underweight, or it's a dented capsule. But going through this air blow system, it kind of knows what weight the capsule should be, and if it doesn't hit that weight, it'll reject it. We still do a full inspection to make sure, and then every 15 minutes, they'll take a certain amount of capsules, they'll take it in back, and they'll weigh it to make sure it's hitting the target weight, and then they'll report it on the documentation.
And I'd like to just say one thing, like most manufacturing facilities will not have a person here because it costs them too much money to have a person inspecting every capsule by hand.
Exactly.
But we go above and beyond and actually have somebody there that's inspecting, that's putting their energy into it, that's really cares about a lot.
Right now what we're doing is we're taking a sample of the product, we're taking 10 capsules, and we're getting the average weight. Once we have the average weight, we look at the paperwork to make sure that it's hitting a target weight. And as long as it's hitting the target weight, then it gets recorded. If it's not hitting the target weight, we shut it down and we'll recalibrate everything to make sure that we are hitting that weight. But typically, once you get to the point where you're hitting the weight consistently over 2 or 3, it's good for the day. But we continue to check it just to be sure.
So after the encapsulation process, then we'll move over here. All the capsules are inside of these containers. The capsules will then be moved into the bottling line. All right, this is the dream team. Everybody here is part of the dream team. What we do here is we take our glass bottles first. They go on this circulating rotunda here. Then it comes over here and we drop down in a desiccant. Come explain the desiccant.
So the desiccant that we put in there will absorb any moisture or oxygen. We only use a bentonite clay desiccant. Other people use silicone dioxide, other products like that. We only use an organic bentonite clay. So from here, after the desiccant's put in, we'll move over to the capsule counter. The capsule counter is a flat counter. What it'll do is the top hopper, you'll fill it up with capsules, and then it'll vibrate. The capsules come down, which inside here are many different electrical eyes. Those eyes can read each capsule. So we'll set this one, let's say for oxy powder, we want to do a 120 count. We'll set it for 120. Each capsule, when it falls down, gets counted. It gets filled. Every 15 to 30 minutes, it'll go to the backside where we will dump those capsules out and count them by hand to make sure that we're hitting that 120.
Oh, wow.
Want to make sure you get what you pay for.
There you go.
This we're not using right here. This is an additional
capsule counter. It's basically a backup. We try and have a backup for everything in here. It's manufacturing. You never know when something's going to go down. As a matter of fact, our capper just went down last Friday. We overnighted parts, got them on Saturday, got them all installed yesterday. It's back up and running.
Love it.
This is the cottoner. And typically what this would do is, if the bottle's not full, let's just say it only goes up about 3/4, then we want to put a piece of cotton in there. And what that does is that cotton will protect it as it's going in your UPS truck to your house and bouncing down the road. That cotton's going to protect those capsules from bouncing and crashing against each other and possibly breaking open.
By the way, we use organic cotton for that too. So we don't use any of the fake fiber, fake cotton, GMO cotton, any of that. But again, it's the little things that matter. It's those little things. We're going to pay 20 times more for our cotton to put in the product We don't have to do that, but we want to do that.
On the back side, you have a big bin where you're going to dump the capsules in. And then there's an elevator to take those capsules up and drop them down. This sensor right here tells this track when to start, and it'll bring capsules in. Once the capsules are in at this angle, you can see a bottle comes underneath.
Beautiful.
So what you'll see is this first set will start the cap, and then these two will lock it down.
Okay.
It's almost like a clutch system.
Look here, these are the labels that are coming from over here, so you can see oxypower. As the product comes down, you can see, boom, there's the label, it pushes on.
Look at that, beautiful. There's the finished product.
We use a laser etching process to put the batch number and lot number on. If you get in close, you can see the laser etching the glass.
Oh, I see that.
The reason we do that is because we have it in some instances and many other companies where with the sticker, people can change it and they counterfeit it. So by etching it on there, you can't take the sticker off and put something else.
Most other companies are going to use an ink printer. That ink, usually, even if you get a soy-based ink, you have to use a harsh chemical, usually MEK, to clean off that ink, to clean the machine. It gets on the floor, it's in the air, you can't miss it. So this is a nice clean solution, no chemicals.
Love it, love it. And then this is the finished product over here.
This is the finished product. Again, we have 2 inspectors that are just here inspecting the product. You know, that's why there's a human element and there's a machine element. Machines make mistakes. None of the machines are perfect. So we hand inspect everything, put everything in here, and then you can see that once we fill a box, it goes through into the packaging, so we can keep everything secure, and you can watch our box packager there. So this is fresh, fresh, fresh. So by the time it came in, off the blending, went into encapsulation, came right over here. A lot of other companies will have things sit for 2 weeks here, 2 weeks here, 2 weeks here, and then go in. Ours is just a perfect, beautiful system of just flowing it right through. We try to keep our ingredients fresh and almost handmade and on demand. There it goes.
I am checking everything on the bottle to make sure the laser is correct. I look at the bottom, make the expiration date. We're looking inside to make sure there's a desiccant inside, and we make sure that there's no broken capsules or nothing foreign material.
Sometimes you'll get bubbles in the label, you know, so we want to make sure that everything is perfect. Flatten that out. Stamp of approval goes in, goes through,
And there we go.
So once this gets loaded up, then it gets shipped out to our fulfillment center, and then it comes to your door when you order it. All right, this is the next generation. We currently have some of our products not fully using this technology, but we will be rolling out this technology for all of our liquid herbals and actually even liquid products. This is our acoustic glycerisomal technology developed by us over 10 years in the making. Now everybody has heard of liposomal and lipospheric. This is the next generation. This is glycerisomal, glycerospheric. This technology is 30 to 50% more bioavailable than the liposomal, lipospheric. Which I think, honestly, if you look into the lipospheric and the liposomal, most of it is pretty much a scam out there. They're just mixing in sunflower lecithin. What we're doing is we're taking it to a whole nother level, not using any chemicals, using all organic substances, and we're using a specific blend of sound and acoustic frequencies to be able to levitate and cavitate all of the individual constituents of the herbs, the oleoresins, the essential oils, the phytonutrients of the plant into a solution, And then using a triple distilled, biophotonic, energized, structured water mixed in with a certain percentage of certified organic glycerin from mustard seed and a small amount of ice-pressed olive oil, which is a specific type of olive oil that we found, a very expensive type of organic olive oil, that's pressed at negative 30 degrees below, that's pressed at 30 degrees below zero, and a small amount of certified organic sunflower lecithin. That's our proprietary blend that we mix. Then we take it through our acoustic glycerosomal technology, and all of those individual herbs and all of the individual constituents get wrapped inside of a glycerosome. It's like a bubble. And it's like a bubble with all of the nutrients of the plant in the bubble. Now, some of that can be released in the stomach, but some of it's going to go down into your digestive tract, and because it's in a glycerosome, it can cross the blood-brain barrier, it can go into your cells, and through a rapid delivery process, be delivered to all of the cells and all of the tissues and all of the organs of your body. Not only are we the developers of this, but we're also the developers of doing this without any chemicals, doing this at below 100 degrees to keep everything raw, and we're excited about rolling this out. So let's take a look at some of the processing that we have for our liquids. The beautiful thing about this technology and the future is we're able to also concentrate these formulas to increase, make them 100 times, 1,000 times more powerful than any other liquid product on the market today. Because we're including high extracts of the herbs, as well as we take a certain percentage of our herbs, like 100 kilos, for example, of milk thistle. We'll do a supercritical CO2 extraction. So 100 kilos, which is over 200 pounds of the herb, we can concentrate that down into 1 or 2 kilos.
Wow.
So you're getting the concentrated, or 90-to-1 extract, or 100-to-1 extract, and then we use that to put in with the glycerosomal technology and wrap those in those glycerosomes. And most companies out there that are claiming liposomal, what you should do is you should ask them for a TEM picture to prove that they're actually producing liposomal technology. Most companies don't want to do that and don't want to fork out the money for that, because you have to send it in and it's very expensive to do a transmission electron microscopy image. And we've been doing that for over a year to prove the amount of glycerosomes that we're producing. So later on we'll be able to show you some of the transmission electron microscopy pictures of the glycerosomes that we're actually creating. So this is the next generation of liposomal or lipospheric. It is the glycerosomal technology that we're using, chemical-free, just using sound frequencies. Just like in the ancient days, they used sound frequencies to lift 20-ton boulders 200 feet in the air and move them over using different types of sound frequencies and acoustics. We've been doing research on that for over 10 years, looking at the different types of sound waves, the different types of hertz frequencies, the different types of acoustics that we can use to cavitate and levitate the ingredients out of the individual herb products. So let's go take a look at some of our liquid herbal processing. As you can see here, we have a long line of mixtures that we have in all glass vessels. We are the only facility in the United States that uses all glass production vessels. This is one step of our glycerosomal technology. This is called the maceration step. You can look down in here if you want to get the cameras in here, and you can see this spinning. The music that we selected to play in this room is to create a resonance with the herbs of peace, love, and joy. So we've selected the solfeggio healing tones. We've selected a group of music that we can play in here, not only for the herbs, because this is like a transformational process that the herbs are going through right now as they're blending in with the glycerin, the biophotonic, and the triple distilled water. And they do that with this beautiful music that's playing in here. Not only do we have the music playing for the herbs, but we also have the music playing for our special water that we make. Water is everything.
Yes, it is.
And so what we want to do is we want to create the most resonant water. And what we found through our quantum vibrational testing laboratory, which you'll see later, which we hired Dr. Glenn Ryan, who's the world's #1 quantum biologist. He's the one that's done all the scalar testing and developed the technology to test for the life force. We use different types of Kirlian photography, Kirlian videos, because we want to make sure that really what you're trying to do is transform the living essence, the vibration, the life force into somebody's body. So we want to preserve that in the plant, maximize it in the processing to where test it in the laboratory, and then you get that energy burst or that vibration into your body as you take the herbs that we produce or the products that we produce.
The system that we're currently using, our IT gentleman, Vidal over here, set it up to where we can have different frequencies throughout the day. We can loop it and have multiple frequencies. We can change the frequencies weekly, you name it. It's not just a looping of the same thing over and over. We can change it to any energy vibration or love vibration, you name it. And again, this is one of those things that I was kind of pointing out in the V blender is we try and be as delicate as possible with all of our ingredients and products from the start of the process all the way through to the finished product.
We talked about water being the backbone of everything. Spagyric processing was what Paracelsus developed. He wanted to take the plants and then bring them back to life before he gave them to somebody. So that he developed the spagyric process, which is separating and recombining the herbs and bringing them back to life. In order to do that, he really specified that you needed the triple distilled water to do that. All the great alchemists and chemists were focusing on triple distilled water.
We take the city's water, which depending on the time of year, it could be 600 TDS up to maybe 1200 TDS.
That's
TDS,
total dissolved solids.
Exactly. So it's just got a lot of gunk in it. We will pass that through a water softener, which is going to take out a lot of the hardness, your calcium, your magnesium, your potassium. And some people might say, well, those are good things. They are to a point. These things are not absorbable. So what we do is we take those out and we flush them. It'll next go into a carbon tank where we're going to remove all the chlorine out of it. Once the chlorine's removed, it goes through a 5-micron filter just to clean out any possible particles that got through, like one of the resins or something like that. And then it'll go into the first distiller. At the first distiller, it will distill it off. It'll take it down to 1 TDS. So think we started at about 600, maybe 1200. We're already down to 1. So basically there's 6 vessels in here. Each vessel is going to distill the water. While it's distilling the water, it's got head pressure and steam. Some of that head pressure and steam carries over to the next vessel. Okay, so what you really have is 6 distillation units making 1 distillate, but at the same time, because that water is crossing over, you're almost getting 6 distillations. So it's a mixture of the two. Okay, once that is complete, it is sent to tank 1. That process is going to, tank 1 is going to send it to distiller number 2. It's going to go through the same process, and then this will go to tank 3, which tank 3 will feed the last unit. And after that, you're looking at a TDS. You started at 600 TDS, you're down to 1 TDS. That's what these units will read. But if you actually test it, it's below 1.
Wow. And that's what we want because it's been theorized that by the great alchemists in the 1600s, actually, that were doing the distillations, that water in the 3rd distillation, the 6th distillation, or the 9th distillation will have the ability to absorb frequencies of light and sound. And that's another reason why we wanted to do the multiple distillations, because we want the water to be able to absorb the energy and the vibration of the plants, as well as all of the phytonutrients of the plants that we're putting in there. and the frequencies of any type of sound or potential light. Sound creates light, so any type of sounds to absorb in there as well.
So basically, like I was saying earlier, it's on a loop. Okay. So it doesn't just play the same thing over and over. It goes through different frequencies throughout the day, and then it starts over and plays those multiple frequencies.
Beautiful.
Most companies have standard, cheap, plastic tubing everywhere. And that can put BPA in your supplements, it can put toxic poisons. And if you're having triple distilled water that can hold different types of frequencies, the first thing it touches, you don't want it to touch and get the frequency of plastic in it. Silicone is a natural product, platinum is a natural product. So we use all silicone platinum tubing in our facility. That's about 100 times more expensive than other manufacturing facilities because most facilities are not going to go spend 100 times more money on advanced silicone platinum tubing. They're just use the cheapest stuff that they can find.
So basically, we'll run it through this UV light system.
So this is light, by the way.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is infusing the full spectrum of light, just like sunlight. So as the distilled water comes out and it's so fresh and it's ready to hold frequencies, it hits the full spectrum of light. So the light frequencies go in it.
And then next it'll go through this hexahedron where it has dual impellers, top and bottom, to create a very, very fine vortex. We're structuring the water at that point. And then it'll run into this new unit that we just added, which is a crystal base. I can get you some more information on that later. Just literally put that in this week. We've been waiting for it for several weeks now.
It's called the Aqua Energizer.
So that's structuring the water even more, right?
Yeah, so you can look up Hexahedron 999. It's a really good company, and you can read all the research that they had. So we're using this as a biophotonic structure, and then this actually goes back to the Paracelsus days, the Aqua Energizer, and this has really powerful crystals and spagyric ormus energy type frequencies that it infuses into the water. So then that's the water that we actually use, and then we mix that in with the herbs. So the herbal blend that we use again is the glycerospheric, glycerosomal technology, the acoustics. This is only part of the process. The other part of the process is the actual acoustic bath that we use. This is the maceration process. So after the herbs are all mixed in here, they will stay in here from anywhere from 3 to 9 days, and basically become one with the solution. And we change up the speeds of the vortexes sometimes as well. And this is the love and the energy of the herbs becoming one with the liquid and becoming part of that acoustic glycerosomal technology. As you can see, we do small batches. We really like to say that Global Healing's products are handmade. We're probably the only facility that really takes the time and effort to do small batches and takes the time and effort to make sure each individual batch is done right. If not, we throw it out and we start over. You know, the body is made of basically seawater and liquid, so as close as we can get to that, and using all the things the body wants and needs, like the certified organic olive oil, the certified organic sunflower lesson, the certified organic herbs, the triple distilled biophotonic energized structured water, all that stuff makes a difference. It's all perfectly created to give the body the best supplements and delivery that we can do at this point in time. Without any toxic ingredients, all certified organic, all certified non-GMO, no dairy, no fillers, no chemicals, nothing.
And you don't radiate it at the end either, right?
No. As a matter of fact, that's one thing that we forgot to mention at the end of our packaging line over there. We do not have a metal detection system. You saw the line that we went through. What you would normally see on that packaging line on any company, manufacturing company that is NSF certified, and
Naughty
many
Satan.
that aren't. Huh?
Naughty Satan. NSF.
Yes. You're going to see a big box that the products run through, and that's a metal detection system.
And when you guys are using all of these organic plants, right? You guys are bringing in the top quality organic plants. Why would somebody want to blast it with radiation and take the life force out of that plant? Does that make any sense to you?
No, it makes zero sense to me, because most people are not focused on the energetics. Most manufacturing companies are just focused on the end product and making money. They want to try to do it as cheap as they can and make as much money as they can off of it. When we went through NSF certification, we had no idea that what we were going to find out. We spent $80,000 going through NSF certification. We passed everything. They said, this is the cleanest facility we've ever seen. You guys are just amazing. This is incredible. We'll give you the NSF certification, but we have 2 suggestions. One of them is a suggestion, one of them is a requirement. We've noticed that you don't radiate or sterilize your herbs when they come into your facility. And the second thing is, so we suggest that you sterilize your herbs before they come in and before they come out of quarantine. Most companies are using steam sterilization, or they're using microwave sterilization or heat sterilization. And so we were like, there's no way we're going to do that. Forget that. That was our reaction. What? Are you kidding me? Why would you sterilize your herbs? You're killing off the life force of them. You're taking the life from, you're trying to keep them fresh for the body. Why on earth would you kill them? And they said, well, companies do it for liability purposes. They want to make sure there's no residual bacteria on there. As long as we don't have E. coli, as long as we don't have coliform, any type of dangerous things on there, we want those living bacteria on there, just like it is if you picked a plant from the soil.
Yes.
Yeah, that's archaic bacteria. That's the bacteria that it was grown from the soil. That's healthy. That's what your microbiome is. Our processing preserves that. We don't kill off any of the soil-based microorganisms. We want them in there. So we just could not understand why companies would want to do that. And then they said, okay, well, that's a suggestion. But the requirement is we cannot give you NSF certification unless you put a metal detection system at the end of your finished goods line. They call it a metal detection system. But what I really think it is a life force killing system. So basically there's 2 different types of devices that they use in the industry as a metal detection device. Have you ever been through a body scanner at the airport? One of the devices works very similar to that, a millimeter wave, which is basically like a body scanner for all the supplements at the end of the line. The second type of device is just like a microwave oven. It's like a microwave device. It sends microwave energy through there. And they say it's to detect any potential tiny metal fragments from the equipment. Now you can see we use all glass, right? Now, there's no way we can do an all glass encapsulated product, but we refused, and we said there is no way that we're going to kill the life force of our products and basically kick them out of the door. All right, so you can see right here we have the container tag. This is a wisdom formula that we're doing for somebody else. This is moringa. This is moringa that we're making here. Moringa is a super powerful herb. This is wisdom formula again. And it's just depending on what we need, how many bottles will one of these are 200-liter vessels. This will produce roughly 2,000.
It's around 2,500.
Around 2,500 bottles per system here. This is being cleaned. This one we have ginseng right here. This is ginseng being produced. If you could probably get a good shot down here of it mixing.
Pretty. Oh, look at that.
Look how beautiful that is.
That is. Wow.
And then just to add, this also follows an MBR. So all of the processes and any kind of employee that's ever touched it, any kind of piece of equipment that it's been on, it's all documented inside of that document, so that way it's all used for traceability aspects to be able to see where the herb came from, how it tested out, and to trace anything back as far as employees that have came in contact with it, as well as keep a timeline for everything.
The MBR is what is called a manufacturing batch record. So it's just MBR for short, but basically every company should have a manufacturing batch record, and that basically takes you through every single step of the process. Everybody signs off at each process, and another thing I'd like to mention is when you do things by hand and you do things really with a lot of love and a lot of energy behind them, and you slow things down, it almost takes 2 or 3 times longer to do, sometimes up to 5 times longer to do to get a finished product. And sometimes, you know, during that process, you'll lose a lot. So most manufacturing companies, they want to have, you know, 95% plus yield. And they do everything they can, whether they speed it up, they put chemicals in it, they do anything they can to get their yield, their end products at 95% or above. We have some products that we end up, you know, depending on the thickness of the herb or depending on the gelatinous, like marshmallow root or something, you know, we might only get 60% of at the final batch yield. But that doesn't bother us because we did the whole process the way that we wanted to do it, and we wanted to do it the right way. So we lose a lot, but we only get 60% the final yield out of it, but we know that it's really good. So that's just a wash. 40% of everything's just a wash. It gets caught up in the filters, or it gets caught up somewhere and doesn't come through to the final product. So we don't stop and say, oh, we're not going to do that product because we're only getting a 60% yield, and you know we're losing 40% of it. We say, you know, hey, we're focusing on the quality of it. That's what we want. One of my favorite products that we have is iodine. Our product is called Detoxidine. And this is the iodine packaging room that we use. We'll show you the iodine production room. Iodine is one of the most deficient minerals in the world, in everybody. Most people all around the world are deficient in iodine. It's one of those, I call it God's molecule because it's purple like the crown chakra, it decalcifies the pineal gland, opens you back up to spirituality. God created it. It comes in a liquid, a solid, and a gaseous form. It's a very reactive ingredient, and it's just one of the most effective compounds I've ever researched in my entire life. It's a broad spectrum antimicrobial. Bacteria, different types of compounds have never been able to develop an immunity to it. It's an amazing process. And so when we sought out to develop iodine, what we wanted to do was base it off of Tesla's oxygen technology, where Tesla was able to stabilize a monatomic oxygen onto a magnesium compound. That's what the oxypowder formula was. So we looked at, is it possible, because I1, or the active form of iodine, I1, we wanted to do that. Iodine is very, very reactive, and that's why science bonded to a potassium, so you end up with potassium iodide. All of the halogens actually are very reactive, so that's why even the chemical companies bond fluorine and bromine and chlorine and all that stuff to other compounds because it stabilizes it. So we wanted to figure out how can we produce, using Tesla-based technology, an iodine, but wrap it in a glycerosome technology and be able to capture that I1, and that's called nascent or active iodine. So it took us quite some time to figure out how we can capture and stabilize the iodine molecule in the glycerin water, distilled water technology that we developed. And I don't know, how long did it take us to come on over here and stand by me?
It took 8 months of R&D. Basically with this product, it's all about the perfect time and the perfect temperature. Off by just a few degrees, this doesn't work. So we did multiple R&D batches over and over and over, and then even once we figured out the correct time and temperature, we had to go back and figure out what is the correct processing unit that we need to be able to hit those times and temperatures and keep them constant. There's not a lot of products out there, vessels out there that you could keep the temperature at a specific rate and not lose, either gain 10 or lose 10. So it took a lot of time to figure out what particular vessel we could use to make that work. So even once the product was close to done and we had good idea of times and temperatures, we still had to figure out what are we going to make it in. And again, it was a total of about 8 months.
Very, very, very sensitive. It's like how nature and God works. Things react at certain temperatures, pressures, spin rates, concentrations. All that stuff had to be figured out. We only want to do the best of the best, so we really took our time. And we don't ever copy anybody in our field. We innovate. We want people to copy us. And because of that innovation, we were the first company in the world to launch the first certified organic nascent iodine product in the world called Detoxidine. So we're going to go into the iodine room and we're going to show you some of the equipment that we use to produce that.
Last question before we leave this room. If you were on a plane with your 50+ products and you had to parachute to an island, what is the one product, if God said, Dr. Group, grab one product, 30 days on this island, you can only have one supplement, what bottle would you grab?
I'd grab iodine. I'd grab iodine every time. Because you can use iodine to purify water. One drop of iodine will purify a gallon of water. So if you're going to need water to survive, you can put iodine on any cuts, any bruises. You can put a drop of it in your mouth every single day to keep you, if you get any type of infection, if you get, if I'm stranded on an island, I'm going to worry about possibly having some sort of bowel infection because I'm eating different things. You can use it as a sterilizer. You can rub it on your food a little bit, and it'll sterilize your food, and it'll keep you healthy inside. So there's no doubt I would take iodine with me if I was stranded on an island.
Tell me this, with your iodine, is it best to put it in the mouth or can you put it on the skin? What's the best way to take your Detoxidine?
The beautiful thing is actually iodine is a very powerful anti-aging molecule. We have some people that once a week they slather it over their whole face, women, and they swear by it. They say it just hydrates into their face. Iodine is used by every single cell in the body. It helps the cells produce better and stronger cells. So you can do it on the skin or you can take it internally, either one.
Thank you.
All right, let's go see how the iodine is made. This iodine that we have in this jar, if you take that off, you can see how it's already, the gas, iodine in its raw form will gas. It actually is purple in color. You don't really want to breathe this too much because it outgasses. This is the pure iodine crystals that we use. And this is from a deep earth source. 99.999 pure iodine crystals from the earth. It doesn't get any more natural than that. And by the way, this iodine right here in this cup is probably enough iodine to make $1 million worth of methamphetamine. That's what they use to make that. Which means we had to go through DEA certification. You can see the safe right here. This has to be so documented. We're one of the only facilities, I think, in the United States that has DEA approval to hold 9999 iodine. We had to have them come out.
Really?
Every gram of this has to be accounted for.
Really?
So this is very, like, if you're in the drug field and you're manufacturing methamphetamine, this is exactly what you want. This is what you use for the whole process. Wow. Of course, we don't do that, and we keep this very, very restricted. Only one person has the code to this, and it has every single piece that comes out has to be documented. All right, Lenny, you have anything to say about the iodine?
No, I don't think so. It's pretty standard. It's beautiful though. When you look at those pictures later on of it spinning around, you're going to see all kinds of different colors. It's almost like a perfect diamond, but it's an element. Other than that, you can kind of see already where there's a little purple haze on the inside. That's just from the crystal sublimating. So basically, they're solid right now, but with just a little bit of heat, they'll create a gas. And then after it gases, if it finds a cooler spot, it'll recrystallize. And you'll see that in some of these vessels as we walk through.
Wow.
That's, again, where the time and the temperature. You can get it to the point where it gets to gas and it's just going to, you know, go out throughout the room and you're going to lose everything, and then you just have glycerin. So again, time and temperature is what it took to get to that point.
All right, so walk us through the process again. Yeah, walk us through the process here about the vessels and what we're using for the temp and all that. This is a new batch that is probably cooling right now.
Yeah, everything's in a cooling stage right now. Basically, what we did is we found the correct vessel. We went through several iterations, sand bath, pure glycerin, glycerin water, until we found the right ratio as well as the right unit. This unit with sand burned out the elements, didn't work. This unit with water, it burned up the element as well, didn't work. So it was a lot of trial and error. But once we figured out the vessel and the medium to heat it in, then we had to work on the times and the temperatures.
And this is in here. If you take a look, this is what this ball of glass is sitting down in a proprietary solution that we invented, which is all natural. There's no chemicals in here. Most people will use propylene glycol for this, antifreeze, but we don't want any of that stuff in our facility. So this, I mean, it looks simple, but this sits down, and this solution has to be able to hold a constant temperature, to keep the temperature inside the vessel at a constant temperature. Any fluctuation, 10 degrees either way, probably more like 8 degrees anyway, will ruin the whole batch.
Wow.
So this the process will start. How long does it take to, once the process is in there?
So because we're not trying to rush this, we want to take the temperature up slowly so that we don't damage what's inside, the glycerin, the water, the iodine. So this will be brought up to temperature over about 12 hours? Is it 24?
Typically takes about 5.
5 hours?
Yeah.
So about 5 hours.
Cooling is what takes the longest, because we let it cool at room temperature.
Yeah, so this would take about 5 hours to get up to temperature before we added the crystals. It would stay at that max temperature for X amount of time, and then it'll cool over 24 to maybe 36 hours. It depends on the internal temperature, the room temp in here, whether it's summer, whether it's winter, whatnot. But once it hits the correct time, correct temperature, you'll get a little bit of sublimation, which you'll see those crystals. They were a gas. They found someplace nice and cool to sit, and then they recrystallized.
When you recrystallize those are super pure crystals right there.
Now that once it's been cooled and we're ready to go to production, then we'll add the final component, which is water. If you add the water too soon, let's say it's still at a warm temperature, you add the cold water, it'll crystallize, it'll recrystallize and turn solid again. So you have to wait till it's completely cool, and then you can add the water in slowly, then it would go to production.
When you add the water in, how many bottles will that batch right there manufacture?
It's been a while, but 1,500? Yeah, about 1,500.
50-liter vessel produces 1,500 units.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Typically do them in batches of 3 vessels at a time. So, yep.
Hence 1, 2, 3.
Exactly.
Which we have the capability to ramp up 3 times if we needed to.
Gotcha.
Which we have in the past.
Love it.
Early on in the 2020. 2019.
When everybody gets scared about a nuclear attack, our iodine sales go through the roof, which is, you know, everybody should have iodine just to protect them from everything. With all the 5G and the electromagnetic frequencies we're exposed to right now, my 2 favorite things are supercharged C60 and iodine. They work incredibly well together. Iodine's been proven, if you have a good amount of it in your body, to be able to absorb and deflect the negative frequencies, electromagnetic frequencies. So it's always good to have that in your body, especially now since the 5G frequencies, the microwave frequencies, and all of the harmful EMFs are all around us. So, you know, that's another good reason why I take iodine at least every other day. And I think it's probably the most powerful natural product that you can have in your medicine cabinet. This room that we're going to take you in now is where the liquids end up coming after they're done with their sound and light and frequency infusion. They need to be packaged. Everything is stabilized by that point. The sound is stabilized in there, everything's stabilized, and then we can bring it over to be filtered. We've gone through multiple different variations of how we can cold filter and get, you know, everything in its exact form during the extraction process. We've played around with different types of technologies. If you see over here, you're going to see a big generator, and then you're going to see this power system here. This is for centrifugal filtration. This is a Heinkel centrifuge. Looks like some sort of device out of Star Wars or something. This is $1 million unit. There's only 2 of them in the United States. There's one at a big cannabis manufacturing facility and extraction facility in Colorado. They use it for separating out the cannabinoids. If they want to, you know, separate out the CBN, the CBD, the CBG, whatever, it's a cold process of separation, so no chemicals. We're currently not using this because we are going to be doing some experimentation on potentially extracting stem cells from plants, and we'll use this for that and some other things that we're looking at doing. Initially, we were using this for the filtration process. So we take the big vessels of the herbs, the liquid herbs, we run them through this, and then we filter out all of the fiber from the process. You know, you have to put in the kilograms of the herbs, just like tea or whatever, and then you have to filter it out. What we ended up doing was moving away from this, and we ended up moving to almost like a modified, this is all custom made, it's a modified wine press, and it's a very slow press. So basically we have these plates that we had specifically designed that go inside of this. If you want, you can bring the camera over here, and you can see here the liquid. So what we did is we figured out a way to slowly press all of the liquids out of solution, and then they go into a glass carboy, and then at that point in time we take that liquid and then we move it into our filling line, and then we fill the bottles and then label the bottles, kind of like what you saw with the encapsulated products. So this is just a slow press process. What are we pressing here?
Women hormone balance.
Women's hormone balance. Do we have a dropper or something we can take and you can try it out? This is as fresh as it gets right here. So basically it just came out of the big vessels that we saw. It comes straight from there, it goes over to here, it gets pressed, and then it goes straight into the bottles. All right, so this is our filtration process. Over here in the refrigerator, these are different types of hydrosols. And hydrosols are the aromatics of the plants. I'm really big into making sure that we take the aromatics. For example, the turmeric has all kinds of turmerones, the alpha turmerone, the beta, the delta turmerones. And the aromatics of plants, the aromas of plants, always vibrate at the highest frequencies, just like the essential oils. Essential oil of rose vibrates at 320 hertz. It's the highest frequency vibration. Does it go through
another filtration process?
So if you're not taking into account trying to preserve the aromatics of the plants, you're really decreasing the energy and the vibration of your end product.
That's what this is all for.
And so a lot of times, if there's some reason why on our liquids,
even with guests,
when you get raw bulk
more of a barrier. We don't usually go past
herbs, a lot of times the aromatics have already oxidized out.
So this is a real
It's
sterile
just
room.
what happens, right? You pick a
Absolutely.
plant, a yellow
room
flower,
gets
then you see it all disappear after a
at least
couple of
once a
days.
day.
So what we try to
As soon as these are
do,
done,
as
they
much
go
as
to
possible, is
sanitation,
add
and they sanitize them
the
again.
aromatics
They
back
swab
in. So if we have a
everything.
rosemary
We have
herb, for
environmental
example,
testing that we do for the
and
FDA.
we would want to
So
use a
everything's pretty much
rosemary
covered.
hydrosol with that and add a little bit of that in there. Just what it does is it just enhances and increases the vibrations. So you'll see that with our acoustic glycerosomal technology and our raw herbal extract technology, you'll see on our label, you know, rosemary or rosehip or something like that. We're not technically allowed to call it hydrosol, so we say plant essences.
Okay.
It's kind of a way around the guidelines because you can't add essential oils in because a lot of people say they're toxic and you can't consume them internally. But we like to add a little bit of that energy back in. And we also put Ormus energized trace minerals in all of our products as well to enhance the energy and the vibration.
Love it.
All right.
So basically in this room, during R&D, before we scale up, we run everything through this V blender. As I spoke about earlier, we
is a
figure
smaller
out
one, huh?
exactly. We figure out the time that it should take, the uniformity that we're getting, and the RPMs that we should be running at or close to it, which would then be written on the MBR so that the blenders, once it does get scaled up, know exactly where to what the starting point is.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't normally use this, but we've been playing around with it. But this is a vacuum extractor. So this actually does require heat, though. This does require you boiling the herb. But in some cases, you can get phytonutrients out, like tea, right? When you put tea in boiling water, what we could do with this is we could do like a big batch of tea, but we could do it under pressure at high temperatures. So basically boiling water. The only way we would use this is if we wanted to take, let's say, 25 or 30 pounds of an herb, and we wanted to really, really pull and concentrate all of the ingredients out of that, and then we would do a concentration and then we would add it. We are not using this for any of our formulas right now. We were using it for R&D just to see what we could do. But we wanted to stay with the raw process. If we were to put this in, we wouldn't be able to say raw anymore.
Right.
But there's nothing wrong with it necessarily. You can still get a lot of ingredients out when you boil them. It's just like when you drink tea, right? I mean, it's good for you. However, it does affect the energy whenever you boil, whenever you heat above 100 degrees, you're no longer raw. 105 degrees. Some people say 108 degrees as well. All right, so that's the little R&D room. Let's go out and see one of my favorite rooms in the facility, which is the Tesla room. This is the Nikola Tesla room. It's basically the ozone room. We have two products from Nikola Tesla, the oxy powder and we have the skin therapy, which is a ozonated olive oil paste. It's ozol. Now, Tesla developed this. He's the actual inventor of ozol. And how he did it was he used high production of ozone, starting with pure oxygen. And the way that he did it was he started bubbling ozone through glycerin, actually. It used to be called glycozone, but then he transitioned to olive oil. Now, the difference between ozonated olive oil that you see on the market and ours is Tesla's original formula. Tesla, the way he did it, he would bubble the ozone from 3 to 6 months, and then until it turned into a compound called ozol, which was a white paste. Most of the ozonated olive oil you see on the market today, someone just bubbles ozone through some olive oil and calls it ozonated olive oil. Lenny, come in here because I want you to explain some of the intricacies about producing this with the gases, the outgases, how difficult it is, how it needs to be perfect.
So, real quick story. We used to purchase this from another gentleman that made 200 bottles at a time. And we were in Prague at a convention, and I was told that we could never do more than 200 bottles at a time, which is about this size of a vessel. So we took that on as okay,
a challenge.
watch this.
Love it.
So Again, time and temperature and amount of gas. We started out with a smaller unit, just didn't work the way that it should. We went to the much larger unit, which does about 140 grams an hour of ozone using pure oxygen as the carrier. And then once it's converted to O3, it gets bubbled in the olive oil for X period of time. Now, we used to say it's a 2-month process or a 3-month process or maybe even 6 months. But what we really found out is it's like testing the cookies. You know, you got to keep putting the fork into it until it comes out clean. So we can look at it and say, okay, it looks close. But until we get that really good white paste and it stays at maybe 80 degrees in here as a solid paste, then we're ready to release it to production.
Take a picture of this.
The other thing that we have to do is, because you're ozonating the olive oil, you're creating something that could turn supercritical, which we did at one point, which basically meant that because we were pumping in so much gas to the olive oil, it just got so hot that we couldn't keep it at temperature, where it just all by itself went supercritical and boiled over.
Pull it over?
Just boiled over. And I mean, hot olive oil, you don't want to be around that.
Nope.
So what we did is we took a chiller and we cranked it way down. So we run this at close to a negative temperature so that we can control the heat created by the ozone in the olive oil. Now, you've got ozone going on. I prefer ozone. When I'm around the ozone in this room visiting, I never get sick. I love ozone, but there's people that do not like the smell. So we created behind you the ozone destruction system. So each one of those units will suck in air from in here, which has the ozone in it, and it'll destroy it. And when I say destroy it, all it does is it removes that one O and reconnects an O to another O, so you just get oxygen.
So you go from O to O3 to back to O2.
Yes, sir.
Well, me and Christopher in our world, we love ozone.
Yeah, I love ozone. I'm a big proponent.
Actually, when you have this device, it will produce even up to like 07 and 08 sometimes, but just for a very short period of time. So.
This is the cleanest smelling room I've been in since I've been here. I feel energized, my lungs feel full, I feel focused.
Yeah,
I know, we love like breathing a little bit of ozone in, but it was really difficult actually, because when we get inspected, what's the requirement? You can't have more than like 0.001 or
0.1, yeah.
0.1, and so it's really difficult when you're pushing it that much ozone in here. And if ozone starts to heat up to a certain degree, it can cause an explosion.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is like my home and Lenny's home, actually.
I want to go. This is y'all's lab.
This is our little mini lab. This is where we do all the mixing and stuff like that. Lenny?
Yeah, so in here, we have multiple pieces of equipment. Again, we have a chiller in here, which is usually hooked up to a 20-liter vessel. We use that to make our secret ingredient for oxy powder. We call it Part A. It's a days-long process that then needs to be dehydrated over X period of time at X temperature. So that's what the chiller's for. Typically, like I said, you see a 20-liter vessel. That's the drying chamber that never goes over 105, usually more like 100. And then this is this is our baby acoustic.
This is a baby, just a test model that we've been playing with. The other one and the technology that has to be specifically designed. This is over here, little mini blender. And then this over here is actually like a nanoparticleizer.
Yeah.
So what we can do with this specific head on here, we'll put that on here, making sure that it doesn't get, hotter than 100 degrees. But we can play around, for example, with nanoparticleizing vitamin B or nanoparticleizing anything. To a certain degree, our process with the acoustic and the glycerosomal and the raw herbal does create some nanoparticles. You'll see on the images of the electron microscopy. But some things we use in the testing laboratory, we'll use this to see how small we can get the particles. And then we have a larger production version available too.
Beautiful.
It's really good to use for like D, vitamin D and B and stuff like that.
Yeah. Anything you want to make an emulsion out of, or try and combine water and oil, things of that nature, and like you said, particleizing some of the raw herbals. We don't typically take it over a certain RPM because the production unit only goes to 3,400 RPM. So we try and keep everything 3,400 or below here so it's apples to apples when it goes out to production.
Love it.
All right, so that, I think, let's see, what do we have in here? Anything?
That's encapsulation 3.
This is just they're just, you know, cleaning and doing maintenance on the machine right now. Keep everything, hi.
Oh, so you're cleaning everything?
So this is like what I was talking about earlier. Once the equipment's done, the product's been run, everything gets stripped down. You've caught her kind of in the middle. Usually there's a lot more parts taken off here, and this is the parts that come off, excluding some of the ones that she's already put on. Each one of these pieces of equipment gets pulled off, cleaned, and sanitized, and then would go back onto the equipment afterwards.
Wow.
How long does it take to rebuild, tear it down and rebuild it?
It takes 3 hours to wash the part, like 2 hours to take it apart. So like a day, that whole process.
The whole day.
Attention to details.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do other manufacturing facilities use the same, do that?
I've seen manufacturing facilities that use what they call clean in place. And they'll basically get a high temperature steamer, leave all the parts on the machine, and just come in and steam it and call it good.
That's why on a lot of the products they always say that this was manufactured at a facility that had nuts or whatnot, because those things could be in there, right? Yeah. Because they don't clean it the way they should.
Yep.
Beautiful.
You know, we talk about detoxification and cleaning all the time. I mean, you have to keep everything as clean as possible to ensure the highest quality.
Love it.
Another reason why we have this facility in Phoenix, because we have very low humidity here, and that keeps the yeast and the mold and any type of organisms from growing on any of the raw materials or contaminating anything. So it's really good to have your manufacturing facility in a very low humid environment.
And that makes sense. That's why you guys chose Phoenix to do this.
Yes.
Beautiful.
50% of this job is cleaning. It's all about sanitizing and making sure everything is clean. It's one thing to run production, but if it's not clean, nobody's going to want it. We get inspected all the time by FDA, health department, to make sure that we're doing everything correctly. And again, 50% of everything is cleanliness. You know, it's just like your kitchen. Nobody wants to eat from a dirty kitchen. Same here.
If you know the root cause of all conditions is toxicity, get rid of the toxicity. It's that simple. Just clean and clean and clean the inside of our body. That's the one thing that we're missing from the whole medical educational system is the fact that you need to clean the inside of your body as much as you clean the outside of your body.